Hey, Uncle Oski here. Let's go for a walk. You know, recently, I might have mentioned this before in a previous video, but I work in the tech sector, and something that's been a huge topic of discussion. I know it's been a topic of discussion, as a greater whole, but specifically for me as a tech worker, we've had a lot of discussions about AI and how that'll affect the workforce, and just a lot of concerns about the viability of the field in the future, since a lot of things that we do can be automated. um but that kind of got me, I don't know, that put me in like a headspace where I just kind of started thinking about just automation in general. And I actually, what actually tipped me over was earlier I went to a local grocery store that I really never visit much, and that I mean I don't even remember. I haven't gone there in probably like a year. But after going back, one thing that I noticed is when I went to check out, there were no self checkout lanes. Every lane there, and there were only five, granted it wasn't much, but every lane there had a live human cashier, and I genuinely can't remember the last time I saw that. Like, as someone who frequents, I obviously, to save money, I'll go to a Walmart or to a Target. There's a different local grocery store that I go to most of the time, but they do have a good amount of self checkout lanes. And I'm trying to remember the last time I actually went to a Walmart or a Target where there's actually been more than two cashiers available, while the rest are all self checkout lanes. And that actually had me thinking back to, like, when did all that really kick off, like the self checkout lanes? And I feel like we've had it for so long that I can't even remember anymore. Like, I remember back at the start, like the only thing I really remember from the beginning of that was like, there were one or two self checkout lanes, back before all this started, and then the rest were like actual uh, people. And it's just kind of crazy how it's cascaded to the point where, like, we have like a super Walmart in my town, like a really, really big Walmart, and there's probably about like 30 self checkout lanes and like a few normal checkout, a few normal cashiers there, live human people. And the same with the Target around me. I mean, for God's sakes, the only time I've ever actually had a person in Target check me out is past 9 p.m., because they close all the self checkout lanes and they leave just one person because there's only a few people coming in. And what's insane to me is how normalized it's become, because with with the fears that I've been seeing with I mean, this must have been something that, like, people who work as cashiers saw back in the day when they first started seeing these self checkout lanes. And what scares me the most is that these giant corporations, these big companies that are making billions upon billions of dollars while, barely giving us livable wages, and, giving us raises that barely cover the inflation rate of the previous year. So you'll be getting a raise and it barely covers, the newest rate of inflation, or or you didn't even get a raise at all. I mean, I know some people at my company this year, they didn't even get a raise, man. Um, Essentially, we've let these companies replace us. Like they've replaced us and we let them because it's convenient for the majority. But I think, I mean, it's the same thing when like every time you, granted, everyone has a phone system. Every big company has a phone system. You know, you call in. I mean, shit, I set these up all the time. But you call in. You know, it dials in. You know, you pick your options. Blah blah blah. But I mean, as someone who has to call vendors all the time, like Microsoft, Kaseya, yada yada. I'm not going to go into all the IT companies that we work with. Um, every time you call, you're always going to get an automated agent first. And it's the same thing if you were to try to. I mean, a lot of their websites have like AI agents straight on them. So whether you go to the website, whether you call in, you're probably always going to get a machine first. So as you start to see, let me start over. When you look at America as a whole, when it comes to the economy, you start to wonder, you start to think to yourself, what is the American economy built of? And there's a couple things it's built on. But some of the bigger things that carry the weight of our economy here is the tech sector and customer service. And if you've been listening to me for the last however many minutes, both of those branches of the economy are being automated. I mean, what, Nike just had a layoff of like 1,400 people. A lot of it was in their tech sector. I mean, Oracle just dropped 30K. I think Meta had another. In their endless waves of layoffs. So two of the biggest sectors of our economy that that a lot of the people in the workforce work in, myself included. I mean, I know when I was going through my college days, I didn't end up going to college, but I went to technical school because working in tech was something back then where you're just like, this is a guaranteed job. There's so much work in tech that's needed, but now we're at the point where like all those jobs are being automated and they're being replaced. Like, granted, there are facets of my job, like actually installing servers and switches, that a machine can't do yet. We don't have robotics to do that yet. You can't nimbly, or even running wires. But we have to be reaching a point soon, especially with all the investment going into AI, that there has to be a point where either companies fully replace live human workers or live human workers start to crash out, basically. Because something has to give, because these two work in tandem. Like if like a company like Apple, if they start automating everything, or all these big tech companies, they start automating everything and people start losing their jobs and can't pay for anything, then who's going to buy all this shit? Who, if no one has any money, you're left with a bunch of products to sell to people with no money. So where are the sales coming from? And like that could cause a vicious kickback to the economy, but even worse, a worse kickback for people, because people won't have any way to take care of themselves. Not everyone has saved up wages. We've been paying for so much. We've been paying so much for so little lately, that people barely have enough money to get by, let alone buy a bunch of extra crap. And now you're going to be getting rid of people's jobs. And the worst part is we've kind of let them. We've basically funded these companies by buying their products. I mean, I have a Pixel phone, for God's sake. Almost everything I have is Google, but something has to end up giving at some point. because this cannot continue. But we're gonna have to see what that point is, and the scariest part is that that point could be coming sooner rather than later. So best thing you can do is just to kind of prepare for that. And for anyone that's young, I think a big piece of advice I would give is to probably honestly move to a blue collar job at this point, because I mean, if there's no work in tech and a lot of this automation is taking out, I would say, like middle management position, like a lot of white collar jobs. If you go with the blue collar job, there's no automation to take that point yet. We're not at the point where like robots can do plumbing, where robots can do electrician work, robots can do all the construction that needs to be done. So if you're young and listening to this, that'd probably be my move. I'd probably become an apprentice of some sort. Definitely go that route. But let me know what you guys think. Until our next hike, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.